So welcome back guys to another video, and today I'm going to be talking about clone consoles. Now, I've talked about clone consoles in various videos and podcasts, but I've never made a dedicated video talking about my opinions. And I'm going to talk about some of the pros and cons that I feel with clone consoles. But first, I have to go back in the Wayback Machine of 2006 when I went inside my local retro video game store, Game Giant, and I saw this little unit called a Yobo. And it was really mind-boggling because it looked really reminiscent of the top loader NES, but I could tell clearly that it was not an NES, and I found out that it was a clone console. It was kind of a Chinese knockoff, and I'm like, oh, okay, you know? And I ended up getting something called the FC Twin. This was an early clone console that was out for retail, and it was an NES Super NES combo, and it was really cool. I enjoyed it for the 2 months that I had it, because unfortunately it did fizzle out and it ended up dying, but it really opened up my eyes to clone consoles. And you know, to this day, I've changed my opinion on digital and physical format. I've changed my opinion on emulation since I've started this channel, but one thing that stayed consistent is my appreciation for clone consoles. Now, first off, let's talk about the pros. The pros is the accessibility of a clone console. Let's face it, there's people out there who just want to play old games, and maybe they went in their attic, they found a bunch of games in a shoebox, and they want to relive their childhood, but maybe their NES or Super NES no longer works. Now they can go out and buy a clone console for the fraction of the price and enjoy some of those video games. Also, clone consoles have really excelled with technology and embracing the modern technology with old software. This is really cool because if you want to play retro on a 4K television with your NES just using an AV cable, it's not going to look that great. You're going to have input lag, and so then if you still want to play on your NES, you're going to spend hundreds of dollars on things like up converters like the FrameMeister. So the clone console is a great alternative to just cut that budget and just play some video games. Also, the great thing about clone consoles are a lot of them are region free, which opens up a whole new plethora of playing all sorts of video games. You can play all these imports: Famicom, Super Famicom, Mega Drive. It's awesome. I really like that because there's a lot of games out there that are imported that are very cheap that unfortunately none of us got to play when we were younger because maybe we didn't have a Japanese Famicom, maybe we didn't have a European Mega Drive to play a game like Pulseman. And now the cons. Not all clone consoles are great. Some of them are completely lackluster. Some of them just cannot do what you want them to do. A great example would be a game like one of my favorite NES games, Castlevania 3. It wouldn't work on my FC Twin because that clone console didn't support the different chipset that Castlevania 3 had to offer with the NES. Now, clone consoles have came a long way with that, but there's still those times that you may want to look at some reviews of clone consoles to see if that's exactly what you're looking for. And can I also say, I think clone consoles or clone console collecting can be very addicting, which for some people it's kind of awesome. For some people it can be kind of a con because I feel like some people are constantly chasing that nostalgic ghost. They don't want to play their NES. They don't want to take it out of the box. They want to play their original software on something new on an HD television, and they constantly are just going out there and getting different clone consoles to try to achieve that emulation that they had with the NES. And sometimes it can be kind of mind-boggling, and it'd be like, you know, all the money you've spent on like 3 or 4 clone consoles, you could have just got a modded top loader or something like that. But I mean, that's one of my cons. Also, let's face it, the retro market is huge. Nostalgia is big. We're older now. We want to relive our childhood, and a lot of entrepreneurs see that opportunity. And some of the cons can be some of the marketing with these clone consoles. A great example will be the Retron 5 by Hyperkin. I know a lot of people who wanted the Retron 5, who got the Retron 5, who wanted this because they wanted to play their original games on their television using their carts, but they totally turned their nose towards emulation when Retron 5 was an emulation box. They took, you know, the ROM and stored it in the information temporarily so you could play these games, and that can be kind of an issue. I know Hyperkin got in trouble with it because they were selling open source software and people found out especially the people who made these games and software, and they got in some hot water because of it. But also, I think a lot of entrepreneurs, with every 4, there's always that one that's just extremely shady, and they'll do stuff like even open up Indiegogos and Kickstarters to kind of pull the nostalgic strings and make people want to sit there and buy these things, because some of it is shady. You have some people who will make a clone console, like say a PlayStation. They're like, oh, you can play your original PlayStation games, you can play all these CD-based games, we're gonna have an Indiegogo, but we're using an Orange Pi, we're using parts from AliExpress that are like $5 to $7, but we're charging you $100 just to fund us to make it for you. I'm not a big fan of that. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with it in the sense that I feel like a lot of people are misled. Now, I agree that if there's a market, definitely jump on it, but try not to be so shady about it. I know there's people out there who don't want to take the time to build a Pi, who don't want to take the time to figure out what a BIOS is, but it's gross. I'm not a big fan of it. So overall, I do enjoy clone consoles. I know there's a new clone console coming out every week, but honestly, I think it's kind of cool because it gives people a chance to play video games, and that's the main thing. If people can play video games and enjoy it, that's really all that matters. And I'd rather have people buy a bunch of clone consoles and enjoy the NES than just store it on the shelf and never use it. But here's where I want you guys to come in. Leave a comment below. Tell me some of your thoughts about clone consoles. I'd love to hear some of your opinions. What are some of your favorite clone consoles? And if you guys want to stay in the know and know what's going on with this channel, be sure to hit the bell. The bell's going to be beside the subscription button, and when you hit that, you'll be notified via email whenever there's a new video. Anyway, guys, as always, thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and as always, happy gaming.
Can't get enough of Excess Gaming Podcast? Be sure to check out our audio podcast on podomag.com. You can also subscribe to us on iTunes. And if you have a YouTube channel or podcast you'd like to share, be sure to check us out on Facebook on our group page and join the community. As always, guys, thank you so much for all the support, and happy gaming.